morning, everyone. Welcome to the recitation of Group 8 today. We are for Group 8, the final group with the final recitation with a summary of Chapter 6. The second language learning in the classroom. So in order to answer the question, what is the best way to promote language learning in classroom? We are going to discuss 6 proposals for classroom teaching in investigating the relationship between teaching and learning. So the first presenter, me, Quý Anh, will present the first proposal, get it right from the beginning. Next one, Mr. Anh Tú will be in charge of presenting the second and third proposals. Just listen and read and let's talk. Next one, Miss Jun will talk about the fourth proposal, get 2 for 1. And the next one, Miss V will talk about what is teachable proposals. And the last one, Mr. Nam will talk about the final proposal, get it right in the end. Okay, to assess this proposal, we need to use a wide range of the researching approaches. Firstly, I would like to mention to the quantitative research and qualitative research. About quantitative research, it is essential, descriptive or experimental, and the goal of this research approach is to identify the specific variables that may affect the learning similarly in different contexts. And it often involves the large number in order to draw the conclusion in general about learners. Unlike the quantitative research, the qualitative research just involves a small number. For example, just one class, 1 to 2 learners. And it usually emphasizes the role for understanding about what's in particular about a classroom or a learner. And it is descriptive too, and includes ethnographies, the study about ethnic or case studies. The most important research approaches is the actions research. Okay, because it's carried out by the teachers in their own classroom, and it is essential to answer the specific local questions. Okay, so now let's start with the first proposals. Get it right from the beginning. The proposals can characterize the more second or foreign language instruction than any other kinds. Okay, and there are some teaching approaches can be used to demonstrate or make clear about this proposal. Let's start with the first one, drama translation approach. This teaching approach emphasizes on the written language, the rule of grammar, and the translation equivalent as well. Its purpose is to help the student read literature rather than to develop the fluency in their speaking. And so, do you think the drama translation approach can get it right from the beginning? The answer is sure, because in a drama translation activity, the teacher plays a main role. The teacher can monitor the student, manage and control all learning activities to limit or restrict and avoid the student makes mistakes or makes errors. And when the teacher uses drama translation approach, the student must follow the rules and can get it right from the beginning. The next approach is audiolingual instruction. Is it familiar to you? Yeah, of course. And with this teaching approach, it's usually emphasized on oral language. Is it contrary to drama translation? Yes, and it's usually focused on the repetition or memorization of the student, and it can lead to have the student speak the language up actively. However, in reality, the student rarely use the language spontaneously, and the teacher usually avoid letting the beginner to speak freely to prevent the bad habit from making errors, so the student can get it right from the beginning. Okay, and there are a total of 2 research related to the proposal Get It Right from the Beginning. The first one is conducted by Linebaugh, 1983. This is a descriptive study of interlanguage development in audiolingual bottom groups, and it was conducted in the students from 13 to 16 years old in high school. And in this study, the student had to participate in the trial of rote repetition. And the reason is that the student cannot use the form correctly outside the classroom drill setting. Another research is belong to Scholar Savinon, 1972. This is experimental study of learning in audiolingual instruction with or without communicative practice, and it was conducted by the student in a college, the university level. And in this research, the student had to be divided into 3 groups, which had different activities related to communication, culture, and grammar formation. And the reason of this research is the evidence show that no significant differences between groups on the linguistic competence measures. Okay, with this result from the research, we can clearly know that the learners who receive the audiolingual or drama translation instruction are often unable to communicate effectively outside the classroom. And moreover, exclusive structure-based approaches to second teaching do not prevent the learners from making developmental errors or mistakes when using language spontaneously. It can lead to the role of communicative practice and drama-focused instruction in the final proposal Get It Right in the end. Okay, and now I would like to invite Mr. Anto will talk more about the second proposals, please.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Tu, and we will talk about another approach in second language learning. This is called just listen and read, and this approach based on the comprehension input hypothesis in the second language acquisition by Gregson in 1985. So the 3 key points of this approach is that it emphasizes on providing comprehensive input through listening and reading, and it avoids drill and memory language. So it means that the student just get immersed in the language, no practice at all. And another important thing is the student don't have to produce the language. It means they don't need to speak or write. And there are some research that relevant to this approach. For example, we have comprehension-based instruction, reading for words, input plus, enhanced input and processing instruction. So these research take place in different settings and context, and I won't go into the detail because it's going to be very long. But these are some of the indication from the research. And learners can make progress when they are exposed enough to the language that they can understand. And comprehension-based learning is an excellent way to begin learning. It means it can be suitable for beginners and is a valuable supplement to other kinds of learning for more advanced learners. However, comprehensive input alone is not enough for L2 learning because input-based instruction is more effective when it includes guided learning as well as listening, reading for meaning. Listening, reading for meaning is mean that the learner have to actively process what they hear or what they read to construct the meaning. In that way, the knowledge will be retained more longer. And one of the downside about this approach is that because the student don't speak at all, they don't produce the language. So that leads to another hypothesis that is comprehensible output. And that leads to another approach. This means less talk. The less talk based on two hypotheses, two key hypotheses. That means comprehensible outputs. It means that learner can only develop their capability when they actually produce the language. And the interaction hypothesis emphasizes the role of conversational interaction. This means this emphasizes on the social nature of learning. I mean, the learner have to interact with each other and they can learn from each other and from teacher too. Another term that we need to take into account is the negotiate for meaning. It means they can express and clarify thoughts in a way that leads to mutual comprehension. And this has three characteristics. Negotiation can help learners to acquire the words and grammatical structure to express their intended meaning. And this involves requests for clarification, requests for confirmation, and repetition with rising intonation. And there's some research that relevant to this approach. For example, learner talk to the learner language, dynamic of pair words. But the common thing about the research is that they focus on pair and group work. So these are the implications from these research. So learner can develop fluency in communication in conversational interaction. And another one is that they can receive feedback from their peers to improve their accuracy and the development of language form. However, it is very difficult for learners to provide each other with accurate corrective feedback in conversational interactions. So this is where the role of teacher needs to be considered. And my friend will talk, next Mr. will talk about another approach.
Yeah, hello everyone, let me introduce myself first. My name is Jin, so today I will introduce you about Get to the Point. Okay, first of all, we will learn about content-based language teaching, or stand for CBLT. Yes, the definitions is that the learners acquire a second or foreign language as their study subject matter and taught in that language. So this is divided three types of. Okay, that immersions. Yes, immersions. That means the students they will immerse in the target language and the language learning were taught by all subjects. And so that's remove the language acquisition practically. Next one is content-based and language integrated. Yeah, that is the approach of language learning. That the language were taught by specific subject, and so that they can learn the language through some subject or content, academic content. So the last one is that as bilingual education. So that students will learn the subjects by two languages. So that this is focused on two language proficiencies and yeah, role model across agriculture. Culture. So here now I will introduce about the related research to support the content-based research. Yes, therefore research. First of all, this is about the brand's immersion programs in Canada. Yes, it was conducted by Harris and Swain, 1984. Yeah, the research have some advantages is that this is develop the fluency, the abilities of listening, comprehension, and confidence when the students communicate in second language. But this has some backgrounds like this is lacks of in certain aspects of brain grammar when they learn the second language. And when they communicate, this is more the fluencies, but this have a lot of resistance or accuracy requirements. The difficult also that the learner they just communicate in the classroom. Small communicated so that it is make difficult for learner identify their language difference. They don't know what exactly the structures that there no difference between all students. So the rarities of certain language features of French grammar is that such as the past tense verb. They have quickness about this. So the class exposure alone does not provide the environment for learners contact or communicate with the native speaker. So it is suggests that instructions should be focused on language form and grammatic feature. Beside the fluency. Yes. Next one. The second research is that the late immersion under stress in Hong Kong. This was conducted by Johnson, 1997. Yes, because it is conducted lately, so that this is have the concerns of the requirement of the language education system because this lack of English proficiency from teacher and student. The teachers will mix English and Chinese in their classroom, so that is limited about interactions between the student with teacher or student with teacher or students in English. To have students easier to understand the content, so the teachers will reduce the vocabulary load and they just use simplify grammar and promote take notes in the first language like Chinese. So that's how to develop syntax and discourse from students, and also make student have a lot of difficulty when they focus on academic study, right? So next one. The third one is that the dual immersions in the United States were conducted by Black Brown 2007. We all know that the United States is international, it have immigrations of a lot of countries. So the government have the legislation has limited bilingual education. They just focus on English and limitation of the minorities of language from on small students. So this for student, it's for teacher teach in Chinese in English. That helps students develop English language skill very fastly, yeah, because they just immerse on the target language. And yeah, this also supports student home language, so that can count the better outcome for students. But the negative is that this is attractive bilingualism. Yeah, it's limit when they just communicate in English, so it's limit their first language and reduce their proficiencies of the first language. And yeah, some minorities of students, they learn all the subjects by English, so that's very difficult for them to understand academic content in second language like English. Yeah. So now we move on the last research. Yeah, this is words in unit series at the Spider. Its work conducted by Spider and Lightbound 2002. Yeah, students when they were shown they will teach by in the first language. It is the unique attitude. Yeah, then they will learn on the subjects by French and English. Yeah, they learn on subjects in French and English. So the students have faced difficulties in copying the subject matter instruction in their second language. And yeah, they very young, so they lack of age-appropriate academic range. So that is hinder their ability to success in secondary level instruction. Yeah, teacher also sometimes overlook language difficulties based on student informal language proficiency. Yeah, they just focus on the content of subject. So that leads to misunderstanding about the root cause academic difficulties. Yeah. So it's also concerned that when students they don't only learn about subjects in second language, so they concerned about future generations might just prefer English and French rather than their first language. So we need to balance education system that encourage the both language, like first language and second language, to ensure that survival of the first language in multitude. Yeah. So now to conclusion, we have a series of advantages and challenges of content-based approach. Advantages is that we will increase amount exposure to language. Second, and we juniors need to communicate like cognitively challenging. But the challenges of content-based language teaching is that children need to many years or long time to acquire the second language. And yeah, in the content-based language, teaching both language and content must be attended to, not focus on the content or focus on about the language. So now I will introduce this week.
So hello everyone, my name is Fang Hui, and I will continue our group's presentation on the fifth proposal, which is teach what is teachable. So after discovering about the input, output, and also the acquisition theory of Prussian, now we move on to the learning theory, which require a lot of teachability during lessons. So first of all, let's discover some characteristics of teachability. According to Panama et al. In 1988, the first characteristic is that the developmental features of language are best taught according to learners' internal schedule. Let's have some examples of developmental features. First one is lexical items, or so-called vocabulary. Second one is phonology, or we so-called phonetics, pronunciations, intonations, and alike. And third one is grammar and syntax. fourth one is the 4 micro skills. And after that, we have variational features of language, which can be taught at any time of the lessons. We have some examples, like the dialects and accents, idioms and colloquial expressions, and also intercultural communication between different peoples from all around the world. And now, let's move on to the third characteristic, which is instructions cannot change the natural development course, because the nature of the language lies on its vocabulary, lie on its grammar, or we call it lie on the developmental features. So instruction of teachers would never be a problem to change or to affect the natural developmental of the language. And the final one is that teachers need to assess learners' development and teach what would naturally come next in the classroom. So after discovering some characteristics, let's move on to some related research of this teachability in classrooms. And the first one I want to mention is the ready-to-learn theory of Pinemont in 1988, and then the readies, unreadies, and recast of Mackey and Philip in 1988. In 1998, and the final one is the developmental stage and first language influence of Spadon and Lightbound in 1999. So we have some research interpretation. First of all is that we must focus on the instructional input when we give instructions in classroom. We need to give more focus and explicit instructions to make clear that every student in our classroom understand what we're instructing them. And the second thing is that we should use more recast focus on single language feature that could be resulted in the progress by ready learners. So let's take an example on how is a ready learner be affected by recast. So we have language feature. I will take out the verb tenses about past simple and present simple. So our student may make a mistake in conducting an original sentence. I go to the store yesterday and I buy some groceries. So this is, of course, not a correct sentence because of the tense. So let's see. So they are already familiar with the basics of English, which is the subject, the verb, the objects, and then the time expressions, but they need to improve their grasp of the verb tenses. So we have two recasts here. The recast one, we're focusing on the past simple tense. I went to the store yesterday and I bought some groceries. And the recast number two, we focus on the present simple tense, which is I go to the store every day and I buy some groceries. That can help our learners realize the difference between the tenses, go along with the time expressions, because yesterday means the day before, and every day means repeated every day. So that is the difference in tenses. That will help our learner become ready for the new knowledge that they are going to learn. And the second interpretation of research is that the L1 may affect on the learners, or we say our mother tongue, for example, Vietnamese. So the L1 patterns may prevent the generalization of L2, even though when learners are very, very ready for the developmental process. So to overcome the L1 interference and the L1 negative effect on L2 development, we need some steps or some so-called techniques that we should integrate in our lessons. First one is we need to raise the language awareness. Second one, we make the contrastive analysis between the two languages. For example, Vietnamese and English, we have different grammar, like adjective and noun, and in Vietnamese we have noun and adjective. And the third one is the targeted instruction. So it also means explicit and elaborative instruction. And next one is contextual learning. And next one, we need to help them to correct the errors and mistakes, and then foster the peer interaction in the classroom by cooperative or collaborative learning. And final one, we need to consider individualized approach. So that was all about my part. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Nam to continue our presentation.
Okay, thanks, Mitri. Let's talk about the last one, get it right in the end. Now you can look at the exercise like this one. Okay, after the teacher gives the students strategies and tips to do this one and correct exercise, the teacher will pick or select some grammar points and important vocabulary to teach the student to write them down on your notebook. Okay, so based on this one, you can see that some supporting on proposals suggest that the teacher don't need to teach all the things. They can pick some important structures of vocabulary, and when at home they can, if they want to acquire more knowledge, they can learn by themselves and can search more information about that. And the next one, some experts on language, of course, have to teach at school and at class. And you know that some aspects of language can be taught by helping learners to note certain features. For example, like structures of grammar. The teacher can teach students how to see about the time expression. You can do the exercise successfully.
Về cắt được. Về cắt được. Bình tĩnh. Anh cứ cười tự tin thôi.
Also, and now I would like to give you some research related right in the end. Here you can see that about form focus experience in ESL. And the next one is a focus on a gender and French immersion. And you can see from the last one, like focus on verbs in content-based science classroom. And the others from the list here, you can look at on page 185 and to 191. And based on some research interpreting the research. The first one, form focus instruction and corrective feedback with a cognitive and content-based language teaching can help students to improve their knowledge and use of the language forms. And this one, for the long terms of their instruction, can relate whether there is continued exposure to a language feature after the instruction ends. It means that after the teacher gives them some expression, some the exercise, or based on the activities, the student can do many activities at home, do exercises and practice with their friends, or maybe with their relatives if they have the foreign. And next one, teachers are not only the source of information about the language forms. It means that they can work with their friends to support more about the exercise and language features. Through the activity like comparative activities or group activities. And next one, form focus instruction may effective and essential for some feature. Example like based on the misleading between the L1 language, the first language and the second language or foreign language. And next one is isolated and integrated form focus instruction may lead to different kinds of knowledge. And next one is there is a need for more research about measure, implicit and explicit knowledge. And the next one is overall context of learning interact with the types of instruction and corrective feedback. Okay, based on the research here. And from all the proposals here, you can see that I guess it is right from the beginning. Evidence suggests that the intro does not correspond to the way that the majority of successful second language learners have acquired the proficiency. And for the second one, just listen and read with a read 2-for-1. There is no support that hypothesis that a language acquisition can take care of itself, like second language learner focus exclusive on meaning or context. And how about let's talk? Okay, you can see that. Where about let's talk? Controversial interaction and groups of peer activities can lead to increase in fluency and ability to manage conversation. And however, the learner may take slow process because they just focus on about proficiency. Okay, how about correctly? Based on my experience, some students can speak fluently, but they can't how to correct the mistake. And after time by time, day by day, the level of the language does not improve more and more. Okay. And how about what is teachable? No strong evidence that teaching according to learners' development levels is necessary, and that it will lead long-term benefits. And the most valuable features about this proposal is that it helps teachers set realistic expectation about the ways learners interlanguage may change in the response, instruction, and process. They not always appear with accuracy. And how about the last one I mentioned? Get it right in the end. A strong evidence for focus instruction with the content communicative and context-based learning, language teaching is more effective promoting language, second language learning than instructional approaches. And of course, decision about the balance between the form focus or meaning focus must take the account difference between the learner's characteristic. Based on all the things I mentioned, we can conclude that it is not necessary to choose between the form focus or meaning focused. The challenge is that to find the best way to balance between these two orientations. Okay. And the next one, and many questions about second language teaching remain to be answered by classroom-based research on the second language learning. It means that when the students choose meaning focus and when they focus on about the form focus, and it suits with the atmosphere of classroom environment. And based on our group present, I have a question for you. This one. This chapter includes with the suggestion that get it right in the end is the best approach. Is it consistent with you on your views, and why or why not? And if you have any question about our presentation, you can ask me. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you very much. And we would like to invite all of you come here and say goodbye to the class.